Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. Welcome back, friends. I am really excited about today's Turquoise Talk guest, Lisa Princic. We are going to be talking about memberships and all things membership communities and what are the three main ones. And it's just going to be a great interview. If you are interested in memberships, she is a membership expert, strategist, and podcaster who has helped hundreds of impact-driven business owners dive deep into their unique value and business models to build sustainable and profitable brands. She helps them simplify and package their offers, increase their visibility with bolder messaging and strong positioning, and scale with memberships. She loves a challenge and can often be found skiing or biking in the coastal mountains of BC. So without further ado, I'm so excited. You will definitely see her simplicity, her, really wanted to bring out the uniqueness of her clients, and just love this conversation. So let's get started. And here is Lisa. Welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. I'm your host, Martine Williams, and today's guest, I'm really excited about our topic because it's something that comes up in my clients that I coach with, and it's almost like social media where it's just like changing and you're just not sure what you want to do. So we're going to talk about memberships today, and I'm really excited to have our Turquoise Talk guest, Lisa Princic, on the podcast today. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Lisa.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell us, for those of us, I'm just getting to know you as well, like about you, your family, how you became an entrepreneur, just kind of share a little bit of that with us, just to kind of get to know you.
Yeah. So my name is Lisa Princic. I live in just outside of Vancouver, BC. So kind of in the small town in the mountains. It's gotten very popular over the last few years. There's like a lot of small towns and really beautiful places. Yeah. And well, it was getting popular before that. Now it's just, crazy. But yeah, so I've been around probably for a while, starting this entrepreneurship journey I shouldn't say before everyone started doing it. It's just when it was like a little bit more of a hacking thing. Like it was hard to figure out. Like we didn't have apps. We didn't have a lot of software. So it was in the sort of 2009, I sort of launched my first newsletter. And yes, we had newsletter platforms, but things were tricky in terms of trying to get video to embed somewhere. Like we just didn't have all these services. So it's a little bit quite the Wild West. And I started out more as a life coach. I was working in sustainability and corporate social responsibility, but it was still just too cubicle for me. And I was just craving a bit more freedom and exploration. And I ended up having a great life coaching experience. So I became a certified life coach before people even knew what that was. You still get you coach what?
What? I feel like it's still there. Yeah.
And so that kind of dovetailed with the fact that I started realizing that when I was coaching with people, it was entrepreneurship I was really drawn to. And then I realized I was really not really a coach. Like when you get coach training, you kind of know the difference between coaching and then sort of advice. And I knew that I was more attracted to strategic, like planning in a way, that sort of strategist. So I eventually moved my way into being a business strategist. And then I decided to niche down into a membership person. So focusing, just narrowing all that body of knowledge that I have, mainly just focusing on people who want those kinds of offers, which are interesting and complex. So that's what I chose that. And yes, I'm a mom. I have a almost 12-year-old boy, just graduated from our elementary school here. So yeah, all the things.
Well, it'll go fast. So mine is 18. He just graduated
Oh,
from high school and is going to be going off to college in like less than 60 days. I'm just like, cannot believe that I'm there, but it goes super, super fast. And
yeah.
all he knows is entrepreneurship. My husband has his own business and I've been an entrepreneur since 2006. So I totally get what you're saying. We didn't have an app for that back then, on a lot of things. And there was definitely a lot more steps and
There
loopholes
was
we
no
had to jump
Zapier. There
through.
was no all the things that connect all the things. Like
There was not.
I know it's complicated now, but I still remember racking my brain around like having to know code and things that like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all like everyone's created that, filled that gap. So while now, I mean, I think the challenge, I wish back then I was a little more, I don't know if it was ambitious, but maybe a little less like hesitant because I was still dealing with some of my own mindset stuff around selling and the money, like wanting money or wanting to earn, like the whole thing. Just I was really struggled with it, and then of course I had my son who didn't sleep at
Oh
all for
yeah.
the first
Sleep
few years.
deprivation is real.
Yeah. So after that, so then I didn't really take advantage, I'd say, of that period where there was fewer people in the market and we got bigger traction because it all seemed like a bigger risk. And now it's busier. The market is busier. There's still lots out there, but
Right.
the margins are thinner.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
anyways.
Right. Well, that's like the mess for the success. I always like to ask about that because there's always a messy part of growing your business. And I tell people all the time, it's not about when you get in all the time, it's getting in and getting to work, and really spending more time on the right things and instead of getting distracted by all the other things. Because there's a lot of things out there, especially now, way more now than there was, back when you and I both started our businesses. There's so many more distractions and ways to compare how people are doing business. And especially with this topic of membership, that we're going to dive into. So what would you say are the three types of memberships, the main types of memberships? If someone's on here and they're thinking, okay, I'm ready to start my entrepreneurial journey, I really think I want to do a membership. What are the three main types that you would?
Yeah, so there's sort of three models, well, three models and three types, but like the models would more relate to what do you want it to do for your business? So is it like a warm up where you're, or almost a bit of a lost leader? You see all these micro memberships out there, which I look at more as audience builders, or because the admin is so heavy on those that unless you've got something that people never ever cancel, it's a lot of work to kind of to monitor all that for that price point, even if you do get the volume, because with volume comes like requests and questions and all those things, right? There's more management. So I would look at it like that. There's like those kind of models. And what do you want it to do? Is it working towards bigger things, like bigger programs and offers? And then when I talk about types, I really like to really focus in on like, what is your zone of genius and how do you deliver value in your membership? And this is one of the ways that I help people get out of the overwhelm from feeling like they have to be delivering content like all the time or posting things constantly inside their program or their community. And if you know that which one yours is, like, so for example, there's like a mentoring coaching model where you actually have live calls, you get on or you provide feedback on things inside the community. There's the education model, which might be more of like, here's content or here's a course. And then there's the community, which is like centered around like, we're here to hang out over a common interest. And those three types will help us figure out which is our core foundation so that we can rely on that, especially when we're starting out and not feel like we have to have everything at the top level at the beginning, because it's not going to be possible or sustainable to have a membership where you are trying to do everything when you don't have quite enough people, maybe even at the beginning, to have everyone using everything or the support or the revenue to justify it. So, there's something that that you're really good at, that you can show up and do. And that's when you're feeling overwhelmed. You can say, oh, I can do that thing and I'm offering value there. And then you encourage people to show up to that thing. Like if you got calls, make sure they show up. If you love doing community posts, then you just have fun with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, like, cause I've had this question come up even recently on a coaching call with a client, and she was trying to figure out what she wanted to do. And I think there is a lot of thought around it's a lot to keep up with a membership, as opposed to I'm going to create the course one time. Right. and put it out there. And so it's interesting how some people are completely sold on memberships and people are completely sold on courses and others are somewhere in between. And I love that you said it's really up to whatever your goal is, right? Like the memberships that I've had, I wouldn't even call them membership because they weren't paid, but they were like, pop-up groups where I am launching into another program, like you said. And that works really well for me on Facebook. So I love that you said, just what is your goal for it? Don't just create it because it's the hot thing right now or the most popular thing. Like you have to have your goal around it or you are going to exhaust yourself.
Yeah. So where I go with that is interesting because I kind of feel like a membership has more potential value than a course. And this is okay, but this is how I sell. Like I want to also talk about how I sell mine, for example.
Yeah.
So I feel like with a membership, you can have a lot inside it. And I spend only a few hours a week on my membership. Like I could literally do nothing. I mean, I want to do more for it, but I don't have this obsession with doing more for it because every time I feel, oh, there's not enough engagement, I'm like, well, I mean, people are working on other things. It's not like a super high ticket membership or mastermind type program where people have got to want to use it or else they're feeling like I'm in a really high level one right now, which is I have to use that thing. If I'm not, I'm like, oh, I'm not using it. So they're going to be learning other things. They're going to be maybe taking one tidbit from the first little while and then just kind of sitting with it. So we don't have to have them constantly using it. So we need to resist that urge to just fill it up with stuff because that's going to overwhelm people as well. And I think that's when people leave, quite honestly. So I think for me, like, I find it very easy. And I also love the fact that some people stay for a long time and I can be their person. They can show up on coaching calls and they don't even have a question. They'll just listen to the dialogue and this is their community. And they still have the dream of a membership. They may not be doing it right away. They may already have it. So I think that's part of where you can do that without just selling courses and then not knowing, was anyone really liking it? And then what's the value of it? And then how you make it better? And then you've got to sell like it to every single person, like individually. Like, there's no repetition.
Right.
So I think that's where I find the course thing, like, I don't know how people to go that high volume and also unless it's really low ticket. And then the other thing I was going to add to that, here's how I get around this feeling of, oh, I don't want people just to come and go. I have a 6-month minimum. Like to start, I just sell it like a course or a program that I still think is great value compared to the competition out there. Right. So it's not thousands, but it's, it definitely has a lot in there because I have a full on 9-module course that people can go through. And I honestly think that's worth the value. Right. So they can then get the community, they can then get and they can pay in payment kind of plans. And then after that, it can be month to month or another re-up of 6 months. So, but it does definitely make me feel like the marketing effort, the sales effort, the fact that I put a lot into a really good training webinar is worth that. That's my sales system. Like you can't sell something for, a very low amount of money. If you're going to give them an hour plus presentation on it. Right. So there's ways to get around it. So I think that despite the fact that you might think, well, that doesn't sound like a membership. It's like, it actually is because people can join anytime. There's no date. They can be at any different point in time. They don't have to show up to anything. They can show up to whatever they want. They can stay as long as they want. Those are, to me, definitions of a membership that are different than a program that has a start and stop date, an end date. Everyone starts at the same place. Yeah. All that stuff. Like to me, it's quite different.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you use a platform for your membership or do you find just using a Facebook group or something like that is sufficient?
I didn't start on Facebook because I knew if I started on Facebook, that was it. I would never get off Facebook because it's a very hard transition to make. And I've just put that out. There's a little warning when everyone's like, what about Facebook? I'm like, well, if you think you want something different, don't start there because people will not adapt to it, I should say, very well. And so I started actually on Slack because I know there's some great communities that are on Slack. Yeah. And it was free. So it was really easy for me to try. I also felt like it was just an interesting experiment. And then I moved to Heartbeat. And Heartbeat was the platform that came out in the last couple of years that I've heard the most sort of people saying, yeah, I'm in. this is
Yes.
solid. A year later, I still like it. So I moved to that about 5 or 6 months ago. And, I do have to say that it felt like Slack was starting to get really vibing. And then I moved to Heartbeat and that slowed down a little bit, but I think it's just a matter of super users and what they like, because there's a super user phenomena. And if your super users don't like Facebook, you're going to get crickets in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so I'm there, and then Heartbeat is more of like a really good community, sort of like threads all lined up in topics. It's got events, which made my life so easy. And to be honest, like Slack, I had to send emails out about events.
Yeah.
And because they have in Heartbeat, they have an event that you can create it in there, and then it can go into my calendar or anyone else's calendar. And they have a weekly digest. It just means that I don't have to send emails to my group. They have to be on BOB to get all the information. And then I have Zenler, which is just a course platform that hosts all the courses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my suite. And it's not perfect. It's just, it's easy for me. I don't need an all-in-one. I have my systems. I have Thrivecart. I have all these things that I use that I have for a long time.
Right. Well, and that's the thing.
So
as an entrepreneur, it's just finding what works best for you. And if it's working, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You
can't please everyone, right? You can't just decide that, half the people like Facebook, because guess what? The other half love it. So
that's right. Yeah. And trying to get, like you said, to your point, trying to get them to adapt and move. So I have a huge community on a Facebook group. It's kind of dormant right now because when I launched my podcast, that's kind of been like my community I've been building here on the podcast. But I also have Kajabi, which is a one-stop shop. I'm sure you're familiar with Kajabi, but it does have a membership site or area in there, a community in there. And I thought about, I wonder if I could get them to come over here and hang out here, because I'd much rather it be in a platform that I own and that I can control what they see and not have to rely on all of the other things. That's a distraction. When they get on Facebook, it's a distraction sometimes. But so I was just interested to see what you thought about that. So that it's true. Yeah, well, the thing people love Facebook, they're going to be on Facebook, but I know a lot of people also are trying to streamline some of those distractions. So
I know, but they still are on it though. They'll still check in.
Of course they are.
They have to be able to get, I think Heartbeat has an app. So a Kajabi, I'm not sure. If you can get something that has an app, Slack had an app that helped. I think Circle probably does, and I probably Mighty. These are all how you get people really connected into that one thing that they want to check out because they have a kind of interest, a vested long-term interest. And I think that Kajabi, I just don't know that these course platforms are really good at doing their forums,
Yeah, I think it's new. I'm definitely learning it. I have another community that I'm in, and it's really cool. She'll send emails will go out that she just went live or is going live, and it's kind of like what you were saying. It'll automatically send out things to the communities. So I'm on the receiving end of some of it. So I've just been watching it and seeing do I like this? Do I not like this? And so we'll see. I just would like to move them off of. I don't really love Facebook as much as I used to. So I'm more of an Instagram girl, but.
There's no community. People are like, why can't I just have my membership? Someone said to me a couple of years ago, why can't I just have it on Instagram?
Right.
Doesn't quite work like that. I think she actually tried. I think she actually moved some kind of part of her talking, like the kind of communication part to something on Instagram. I don't know how, but I think she actually did.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, but I think it's more of if you're B2C, if you're working with people who are not necessarily super tech friendly, or they don't love it, or they don't have time, then meet them where they're at. I run a membership business for membership business owners. I think the flagshipping a new platform is a good for them to see. So I feel like that I felt confident in that decision to demonstrate the possibilities and also attract people who are taking it seriously.
Right. Yeah.
Because membership's not necessarily an easy business, to start. You have to have some systems in place to sell when you're selling volume, especially if you're going low ticket. You need volume, and to get volume, you have to have a funnel. And if you can, if you're not comfortable with funnels, then and you just want to do referrals or personal selling or big projects, then it's a learning curve. So you have to have people who are ready for it and open to it.
Right. So when you talk about high ticket, low ticket, I know that's a question someone's probably thinking about membership. So and there's probably different models or different ways that can format it, but what have you found to be the most successful, if there is such a thing, as far as membership pricing, how many people you want to come into the membership, what's manageable, what does your, daily use look like? How much content are you putting in? How often? That was a lot of questions, but I know that's what someone's thinking. They're thinking, okay, this sounds cool. I want to do this. Like, what all is involved in it and how much should I be charging? That's another question I get a lot about a lot of things. Like, what's the price point?
Yeah. So this is the funny thing about a membership is people will charge, they will they will think they need to charge a certain amount because they just put the membership label on it. Whereas I never come about that way. That's not how you do value, right? That's not how you evaluate outcomes. You have to look at what is the transformation that you're delivering and what is the sophistication of the person who you're helping. Like, are they struggling and it's difficult for them to spend, but they really need this. And, there's lots of people who need it. So, some ways you're looking at a product market fit, and you're also just saying like, okay, I am not a volume person. I am a more high, medium end coach that charges X amount for my private. So I think, and I'm willing to show up and do these things. And so I think you have to look at what the value is, and that's how you work it out. I don't think you reduce it so much just because it's a membership, unless you can honestly say like, I'm going to get it to be so big that there's going to be this many people in it that I can't even deliver that value anymore at this amount. So that's where you have to look at what would it look like at 10 people for a long time? What would it look like at 100 people? And what if you want 1,000 people? Because some people ultimately want 1,000 people. I don't even like the thought of 1,000 people.
Right.
It sort of overwhelms me. And I think it's because I'm such a relationship person that even now I'm like just over 40. I sometimes, if I haven't seen someone for a while and they've been in the last couple months, I'm like, who's that person again? And I want to know who they are. So I look and oh yes, that's when they join and that's what they do. So I think, and if they're not that involved, then I don't really know. And I think that's the thing, like, your personality. So if you're driven towards high volume, then you'll probably grow your business that way and market that way. But if you're drawn towards relationships, don't undercharge what you would be charging way more as a private or a small group. If you're going to be at 10 for a long time. So instead of charging $20 for the 10 people a month, why not charge $200 if you're actually showing up with them? So I think that people also around pricing, we don't want to, like, when we buy an investment that's like $500 or a year or 1,000 versus 10,000, we have different expectations as consumers about what we're going to get. And if we're buying something low ticket and it's like weekly calls, we might not be prepared. We might have something else going on. And we just want to learn a few things. So we want to actually just make sure that whatever we're delivering is going to match the price point.
Right.
So that's like that. And then same with the content, like the content doesn't have to, you don't have to overdo the content for the price point. I just don't think that you need to create something unsustainable. Sure, you want to impress people. You want to make sure that you're not over delivering in terms of quantity, but maybe, quality. Like people make sure that information is great and the conversation is good and that you're still working on yourself and the things that you offer. But I don't think that it's about stuffing it full of stuff. Filling it like with fillers, right? Filling it to create the value, when it could just be less content, but more valuable content. That, especially if it's not where they're at. I mean, I think that you've got a certain average person inside of like average of where they're at. And then you've got pretty like maybe higher sophistication. And then you've probably got more newer. And so you'll know what that range is. And you probably best to deliver to the middle range so that you know that you're delivering to more than one person. But then once in a while, you can put something in there for the higher achiever that might excite also the people who are not quite there yet, because they know it's there to be watched at some point. So you're adding things. But the nice thing about it is you've got a great library. Like I have a massive library of very advanced sales and marketing trainings, because that's what people need once they launch their membership.
Right.
And you can always point back to that.
Right. Hey, friend. So You have been trying to make some shifts this year. Maybe you set some resolutions and you're just feeling stuck. You don't feel like you're making progress, or you're just not sure what to do. And you've heard me say this before, but being stuck is a mindset, not a position. And this is where a coach comes in to support you. Because here's what I know to be true about you, friend. If you could have done it alone, you would have already done it, period. And as a life coach and a certified PDP professional, I specialize in using a research-based personality and performance survey called the ProScan to illuminate how your unique personality and natural strengths, your work and life environments are influencing real-time performance. So here's what you need to do. Go to the link in the show notes and book your free clarity call to learn more about how I can support you in your goals. I can't wait to illuminate your strengths, cultivate your confidence, and elevate your life. So what's been your best way to market your membership?
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in evergreen because memberships to me seem like they should be evergreen. Like you want to keep the energy going and you want people to keep joining.
Mm-hmm.
So this is me. This is me. I've been off social for a very long time and I'm getting there. Every time I talk to someone, I'm like confessing that I'm coming back at some point. I've just been I don't know what it is. It's to me, it's a bit of been an energetic, like, do I really feel like performing online? No. So I have found that I have made an effort to work on SEO. Mm-hmm. And now I think I'm getting found number one for membership coach, which is
that's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's led a little bit more to VIP clients probably, but I've still like that is important to me because to me that's strategic and I like building something that has a continuation. So people will probably find me my membership because I have a free training, then that's the only way to get into the membership. And then I run ads. So I've done Facebook ads, not that they're not frustrating, but because
inexpensive right now.
They're expensive. I know. But they're less time consuming. And again, I don't want to show up and like share my life. I don't know what is my upbringing. Maybe it's the Canadian and I just don't know if I really feel like saying like, and I'm going to, look what I'm doing. Like how exciting this is every day. I don't know what it is about it. I don't consume a lot of social. I literally don't consume anything. Right, so if I'm doing it, it's literally push out. And it's like, it's assuming that people are not like me who don't really want to consume.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're sharing that because I do think
I'm honest.
No, I appreciate that because I do think it's like the expectation, whether we put it on ourselves or we feel like the culture is putting on us to always show up and always be on live, not live video, but just sharing our life. And for some people like that, I do love that. Like it's not something I want to do every day, all day long. But I'm a relationship person. I love building relationships with people. And I enjoy the social aspect of social media. I don't enjoy certain aspects of it, but I enjoy it for the most part. But there are so many people who don't, and they feel like they can't have a successful business without it. And so I love that you shared that because there's someone listening that's like, okay, I can't just show up and throw what I want to put out there and then refrain from the rest. And that's a really important message because I think so many of those who don't enjoy it do it just because, and then they burn out. And then they don't.
Yeah. And I think like I want a strategy for it. So it's taken me a while to find what I think is a strategy that doesn't just feel like I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall all the time because I just don't think I'm at that place in my business anymore where I don't have enough knowledge to know that there's going to be some kind of strategy or rhythm that I can get my head around, like not posting 3 times a day, but like, so I think I finally came across one in the last couple of weeks. So I think I'm willing to put it out there. And then also repurposing my podcast and using an app or something like that so that I'm not going through and like literally taking out clips and then I think I found an app that might be able to do that just gives me a bunch of clips. So I think I'll find ways to do it but I just didn't want to do it just try it and see because I kind of wanted, I don't know, it's just the way I want to go about it. And ads, again, they're expensive, but it's still a strategy. If you get something, you get to ride that out for a few days or a few weeks.
Yeah. And that can mean a lot. It can be a lot of people
Yeah.
coming to your membership and income coming into your business. So
Yeah. And sure, the income is definitely cut down by ads. I mean, it is
mhm.
definitely cut down. Like I know a lot of people who are using ads right now, and yes, they're working for them, but I
Yeah.
100% know that they are still spending a lot. Like the ads is going to take up often. I know we hear all these things, but for probably an average of 50% at least of your
Yeah.
cost of what you're selling. I
Yeah.
mean, I know there's exceptions, but I mean, that's a good average. So it doesn't, but to me, it's okay because like my membership is a little bit, passive in that it's one to many. And so an extra person in there,
Mhm.
even if I'm having to pay a lot to get them in there, as long as it's still profitable, it just adds value to my community at this point. It's just adding
Right.
another like awesome person doing something fun. And
Right.
so I'm happy to do that for right now. And then I also think organic will enhance the ads, because I think there's people who will see the ad, then follow you, and then they maybe don't join anything yet. So I do think that's going to work together really well. And that's why I'm ramping myself up to do it. But I still wanted to make sure I figured out how to do ads more efficiently. And so I spent time on that first.
Yeah. How do you feel about email marketing? Since you don't use social, do you find you use a lot of email marketing for talking about your membership and driving people?
Oh, right. So getting back to my funnel. Okay. So I have an evergreen webinar that is the only way into my membership. And so I do have a pretty, I don't know, full on first 2 weeks that you're on my email list and watching that training, or trying to get you to watch that training.
Yeah.
That when people watch the training, they get really excited about joining, because it's like I have a different approach. I have different philosophies on memberships and different examples that are interesting. Like, not that this person earned $1 million, like they're honest examples,
Right.
And so so getting people to watch that, and then they kind of go into a regular enrollment period that's more based on the sales page. So yeah, there's a lot of that up front. Now, when it comes to ongoing email marketing, I don't know, like I played with a few things, and I don't know exactly in terms of what my goal is right now with the people who've, say, been on my list for years and haven't taken action. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously I scrub the cold subscribers, but yeah, I do believe that we still sell through email. I mean, I do. That's all I sell through email. So I definitely do. But in terms of like ongoing, like month after month after month, like you have to be doing something new and interesting sometimes to keep doing. And so because I'm not live launching at this point, I'm still figuring out like, what is it that I need to do to my thousands of people on my list that haven't bought from me, that have been on it for a little while. And I'm going to work that out this year, but I don't even exactly know yet, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
but initially, yes. I mean, daily emails, like you have to daily email when people sign up for you. You have to get on their radar.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to get their attention.
Because there's so much, there's so many emails coming through. There's so many social media posts. I mean, there's a lot of things that are distracting people for their time. So,
but they still need that recognition though. Here's a different way of looking at it. If they don't see your name in their inbox a lot, so they could delete like 20 of them and then finally go, oh, this topic, this subject line. And I know who this person is because I looked them up, or I found them. I came across them. I got on their list. I signed up, and then the emails started coming through and I started recognizing that name. But if you don't do that at all, and a month later, they're like, who the heck is that? And I'm deleting, like, I never signed up for this.
Right.
So, I mean, and I know it because I'm like, oh, I'm doing that. Like, because I'm noticing that this person didn't email me, and all of a sudden they're emailing me months later. I've lost track of who they are. And so I'm less interested when I don't have any recollection of why I even thought they were interesting or had something to share.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we do need to email our list more often. And I mean, at least weekly, just to maintain the thread. I also think we need to sell to our list more often. And that's when you ask about email marketing. My thing is that, well, what do I want to sell to them? Because I've got podcasts, I've got all kinds of things that they can listen to and pay attention to. So when I think about what the purpose of people on my list are for, they're actually just sell to, like, they're to buy something from me or just watch me in my sales process, which is totally fine. Or just go, go somewhere else.
Right. Right.
So I
Yeah.
think that's where I'm at. It's like they're either want a membership or not ready to buy it, but they're happy to hang out until they're ready,
Mhm. Yeah.
or because they're not ready to start it. So then they can just hang out and they'll find it fascinating enough if they're interested in this topic, or
Yeah.
they're not interested. So that's okay, because that's all I'm going
Mhm.
to talk about it, mostly.
Yeah.
Or they're ready finally, and you finally ask them and they're like, oh yes, okay, I've got to do this now.
Yeah. 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 You brought up live launching, and I think for a season that was super popular. And I haven't heard a lot of people using kind of that 5 day, freebies, 5 day, every day showing up, doing some free training. And then that was what I was sharing with you earlier. Mine wasn't really a membership.
Like a challenge.
Yeah, it was at the community and the challenge. And I've used that. I mean, I've live launched lots of times. But I kind of I've been on a break for the last year just without telling you the full story. So I kind of transitioned to my brand, left a 15-year career. And so just not being in it, but I still watch a lot of people, and I just haven't seen so many people live launching. So I'm curious, do you still see people using like either a free membership or a free community to live launch?
Like a pop-up community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's perfect for Facebook. And that means people are still doing challenges. I mean, I do actually. And I think some people love live launching and they're great at it. There's a ton of people who are still doing that model. In a way, though, it's almost like I'm finding that people who are live launching they either love it or they're very successful and they have teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it's a burnout, it's a bit of a burnout, like for the individual, or even the individual with an assistant and maybe another type of contractor. It's there's no getting around it. It's like a lot put into something, and you've got a lot riding on a short period of time. So I think that it's safer. I feel like it's safer for people who are small. And by small, I kind of mean like under $1 million, like, because it's not, it's kind of, it's even if you're making several 100,000 into someone that might be a lot, but it's not really, because a lot of it's still going out to some kind of cost per acquisition, usually at that point.
Yeah.
Because advertising, everything's expensive, and getting support is expensive, so everything. I would say that even that can be too cyclical to have that really stable team. So then, then you're causing yourself a little bit of, I don't know. I just think the evergreen is easier, especially when you're not playing the big game of like max out as much as you can, because then you can perform. Then you can get training to do a live launch. Then you can literally hire people to help you perfect this live launch. You can track the numbers. You have years of data. Like, you can do all these things. And I think that for a smaller person, I would rather see repetition. So for example, I've got a paid workshop that would ideally like to run every 2 weeks if I could make sure that I didn't lose money on it, because it requires Facebook ads.
Okay.
Because it's like, I can't keep sending the same workshop every 2 weeks to my list. So I have to get that much growth to my list, or I have to get new people to the workshop. Yep. And then, and driving ad traffic to a paid thing is very tricky, right? You often lose money on that, and then you sell afterwards into your program.
Right.
So I'm doing it once a month for now. So that, for example, is a live launch, actually, because then I invite people into my membership afterwards. But it's because they've spent an hour and a half with me, because it's an hour of pure, like, here's how you can structure and sell your membership, excellent content, and then a 30-minute Q&A, which is like on Zoom live. And sometimes there's only 5 people. Right. Then all they need is an email and a sequence and a bonus if they're really interested in this.
Right.
So that's still a live launch, but it's not
like the challenge 5-day live launch. Yeah.
It's not a twice a year kind of thing.
Big thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And that sits better with me, because to me, I want systems. And I feel like right now in the world, things are changing enough in terms of buying behavior and cost of marketing that it makes me question, in 6 months' time, can you even repeat the thing you did 6 months earlier?
Yeah. Yeah. So I know a question that people have, or maybe a reservation they have around membership. Number one is retention and keeping them in your group. And also and you mentioned it earlier, but just, the whole, it's no engagement or low engagement. Like, how do you keep your members engaged so that it's helpful for them, right? That they're seeing the things and they're engaging in it. But I think as the owner of the membership, it's why aren't people engaging? Like the
Yeah.
questions they have, why aren't they engaging? What is
Yeah.
it me? Is it the content, or is it just like you said, they have a lot of other things they have going on. A membership, they're going to pop in and get what they want and pop out. But so
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not necessarily fulfilling on all this, but so I'll be honest, like engagement is my sort of, I wouldn't say it's my strongest suit. And perhaps I'm willing to let it go for other things that I want to do. Like, what do these people really need? And what do I want to bring in terms of training? Like I'll impulsively go, okay, we're doing a copy clinic because all of you keep showing me sales pages that are not actually addressing the problem and the pain points, so I'm like, we're doing a copy clinic. So I'll just throw that up and then I'll point a lot of people to it. So I think that I tend to lead a little bit more with what I'm excited about and where I'm learning about what's going on. And so I'm kind of got that leading learner approach to so I'm a step above, or maybe a couple steps above my members in terms of where I'm at in my systems and funnels and marketing and membership growth. So that's kind of what I'm doing, as opposed to coming up with like prompts about like, what are you doing this weekend? And I mean, so I'm not great at that. And someday when I'm bigger, I will have more help with that, because I think that is important. I really do. I think people need to get to know each other personally, but not everyone's going to like that either. So you have to just do everything for every kind of person. So I think that really, when it comes down to it, like DM people, ask them how they're doing, what they're liking, what they're not liking, bring them back in, ask them how you can help, because people don't often know what question to ask. They forget. They're running through life. They're distracted and they don't even, things are good enough. Or they're okay enough with where they're at that they're not seeking help. So I would say just add personalization to it and make sure that they know that you're there to get help. And I think that's how I would do it in my membership, because of it's not, again, like it's, over $100 kind of thing. And it's not super low ticket, high volume. And I'd say that just be, open with your journey, like where you're at. And I feel like the posts that I need to do more of in my membership are, here's what I'm learning and here's what's going on for me, and not even teaching anything.
Yeah.
So I think there's all kinds of ways. And I think it's great to get into a system. I think when you get bigger and you get into routine, you need to, I've got a whole roadmap spreadsheet full of like trainings all categorized that people don't even know are there unless that I probably need to bring up one a month and be like, by the way, here's this thing that in case you didn't know, but I'll feel like I harp on one of them for a long time. And then so probably I could cycle every 6 months into one of the ones that I haven't for a while, that I think everyone, like the foundations of how to build a business, like copywriting, sales pages, funnels.
Yeah.
So I think it's different for everyone. I think it's a personality thing. And I just want to be able to say that, because I don't really want to force someone into doing a cookie cutter approach. And yes, it might look like a cookie cutter if you take 2 memberships on different topics, each with 1,000 people in them at a similar price point. They might be almost a little bit of a cookie cutter, but our path to that is not a cookie cutter path.
Right. Yeah. That's
what no one tells you.
Yeah, no, that's a great point to make, to just keep your personality and keep your journey and share that with them. And that's what's going to attract certain people, and it may detract some, and that's okay too. You want the right people on the right seats and the right bus. So if someone, as we wrap up, if someone's wanting to start a membership, what would you say the first 3 things they need to do to kind of get it rolling?
Okay. So number 1 would be get clear on the outcome that you want to deliver, the transformation, rather than just have all these features and ideas about how you're going to hang out with people. Like, what are that you actually leading them towards in their life? And so if you get clear on that, you'll know what needs to be in there, the steps to get them there. I would say that I know everyone cares about tech, but again, I don't really think it's the hugest deal, because figure that out, but that's not, I'll just add that as a non-point, 1.5. And then I would say, make sure you're comfortable with your pricing and that you feel really good about it. And that you're really confident that you're over delivering a little bit, but you're also feeling like you could live with that for a while in case you don't get huge growth right away and huge numbers right away. Because sometimes things don't launch as quickly as we think, but it doesn't mean ever have to quit. You can keep it going. I mean, I had my membership went down to next to not like 3 people last summer while I figured out some things. And now it's like over 40. So it can change quickly when you figure it out. And then I think you really have to figure out your sales system. And you might not have to figure that out at the beginning. So you might just know how you're going to launch and who you're going to invite. But I think after that, that's the thing that I know sometimes we just want to throw it up and then hope we figure it out later. But not being able to bring in new members does become quite a pain point. So I can teach you all that, but it is the part that we then think, oh, now what? And how are you going to sell it? And you don't have to have all it dialed now, but you have to start working towards that. Like, are they going to find me on Instagram and then I'm going to invite them to this thing, or I'm going to build my list but don't ever underestimate how much to sell to people, because they don't even know you're offering them something half the time. So getting comfortable with sales when you're doing a one-to-many is important.
Yeah. Good stuff. So we'll put links to all the things in our show notes for you or for the listeners. But if you want to just like audibly just say, where can they find out more about what you offer and just where to hang out with you the most?
Yeah. So my free training is at scalingdeep.com/freebie. And that's my webinar training. And then that's how you can check out my membership. I also am trying to run these paid workshops regularly. So once a month I'm at, or once every 2 weeks at this point. So that's just the membership method. And it's just for scalingdeep.com/method. And I might be on Instagram soon. So feel free to follow me there. And then I might show up and actually like do some content. This is my quest this year, Martine. I swear I've been talking like, I'm almost like everyone I say, I have to almost confess so that I'm like holding myself accountable if I say it enough times.
So how long have you been off social?
I wouldn't say I'm off. Like I still go on it once in a while, but I'm not really, I don't know, maybe a year or so. I think it's when everything got really, and then I had this thing about TikTok, and then I was like, should I go on TikTok, or is that just like a waste? And is it going to get shut down? Am I ethically opposed to them? I mean, I'm so in my head. I mean, I'm not, I should say I'm a recovering in my head person. Like I don't care. Like I laugh at it, but I am a deep thinker. So I question everything and I ask why, and I ask, is it important? And is it valuable? And it's like less spinning and more like, So I think that I've decided that I might do a combo of TikTok and Instagram. I think TikTok seemed easier to me, believe it or not, because it's so anonymous to me and I so don't care about it. And I've never really been on it. Like I don't even have the app on my phone. So therefore that was my easy path to being like, okay, Instagram feels personal and it feels like people I know will look at me and it should be a little bit better. But then I was like, oh, but what about the whole government shutting it down? And therefore I got in my head about that. I would have just started on TikTok, but I'm going to actually just do it. And I don't care if it gets shut down because I'm going to use it to drive traffic, I think, to Instagram.
Yeah.
And then communicate more with the people who follow me on Instagram through stories. Is my strategy that I found out about.
Yes.
And then I feel like I have my path. Pardon?
So we'll all hold you accountable to that. You've put it out there now that you're going to be on there. So we're all going to be going
following me. I know. So I'll do it. I think I'm going to do it in the summer.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on and talking about this topic. I think it definitely gave a lot of people, the listeners, something to think about and how to strategize and how to think about it and not do cookie cutter. And just there's a lot of great points that you brought up. So thank you so much for taking the time and being vulnerable and sharing all these things with us. It was awesome.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, friends. Well, I'll catch you on the next episode. And, I'm believing in you always. Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link, share this episode, or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.